law firms that do have or that struggle with branding, what's your recommendation for them to begin to build their brand?
Oh, that's a great question. I think does go back to vision and who you want to serve. Like, what's your audience looking for? And they're looking for their advisor for the type of work that they're doing. Like back in the day, like banks and technology were always dark blue. Certain flashier brands like fast foods were red. So it's like, what is going to resound with the type of clientele that you're looking for.
Welcome to Harry Handles It, a podcast where we dive into the world of personal growth, success strategies, and everything in between. I'm your host, Harry Nalbandyan, and today we're going to chat with an incredible guest who has some amazing insights to share. Remember, no matter what life throws your way, I'm here to help you handle it. So let's get started. Welcome this afternoon to the Harry Handles It podcast. Today we have Daya Naef, who is a business consultant and the founder of the Success Partners. Welcome, Daya. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, thank you for having me, Harry. Yes, so I run a law firm consultancy, and we do a blend of coaching and consulting for small law firms all over the US and in Canada. And we do a lot of work around business development, streamlining operations, growing the firm strategically. And a lot of that involves now AI, proper AI usage and implementation.
How long have you been doing this consulting practice for?
Since 2018, so right at 7 years.
And have you found any common themes or challenges or a common denominator of problems that law firms are facing given their size?
Yes, absolutely. I think with I work on the smaller size market, so usually around 10 attorneys average. And I think one of the main challenges is profitability, having enough time and energy to cover everything, streamlining operations, having a clear vision. A lot of times we just jump right into the practice and we're busy getting clients and working the cases and doing the billing. And then at some point we get our head above the ground and go, wait a minute, is this actually what I wanted to be doing? Is this really the vision that I have for the firm? So there's a lot of that. And once you decide what vision you want to have, then it's staffing it properly and bringing in the right people to partner with to make a partnership track or bring in laterals where you need them and really fill out your bench properly.
Yeah, filling out the bench properly. That's a good point. That's something I've
Yes.
realized in the growth of our business. Like if the right players aren't on the bench or playing in the right positions, then you know you're in for a lot of trouble or more trouble than you would otherwise have.
Hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
do you find that to also be true?
Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes you don't know. You just kind of have to jump in and go. Like you grow very quickly sometimes, and you're like, I just need someone who meets the minimum qualifications, and maybe they'll be a good stopgap, or maybe they'll ruin the whole thing. And they're just it's not bad people, just in the wrong roles, maybe in the wrong firm, in the wrong type of practice. Certain practice areas really lend to different personalities better than others. I wouldn't put somebody in, say, tax that was better suited for family law. There's two different personality
Yeah,
types.
big time. You gotta have the right person, and you gotta have the right person in the right seat. There's
Yes.
multifactorial. Let's say it's day one. A law firm has retained you. What's your process like for discovering pain points or how you can provide value?
Oh, that's a great question. So it's very relationship orientated and relationship based. So we have a lot of conversations right at first. Some people are a little skittish about the amount of time that I want them to spend with me right at first, but it's much better to get a good solid foundation and get the rapport developed. And people are very interesting. Sometimes I'll get them on the very first initial call, like not even engaged, just a consultation, and they just tell me everything. And then other people, I've had them engaged like 6 months and they finally get around to going, well, what I really want, I'm like, we've been talking for 6 months. Now you're telling me what you really want. So it's really crucial to set up those relationships right in the beginning.
And we're actually in the process of opening up a new office space about an hour and a half north of our headquarters.
Mhm.
Do you have any recommendations or best practices for carrying firm culture and carrying that vision out in a different location where most of the staff may necessarily not be?
Ah, absolutely. Is this your first additional office?
It is.
Oh, wow. So yeah, what caused you to want to create another office?
Just expansion for geographic expansion to cover more of the state, and the
Hmm.
idea is just to keep growing. So we decided that Bakersfield was a good population, a good area. It's still sort of accessible for the first round pick from where we're at to get to if we need to
Hmm.
get there. And we did feel like the population in Bakersfield and surrounding counties were underserved with the services we provide. So we felt like we could make a big difference there.
Okay. So you've done your market research as far as clientele. Okay. And so now it's more like, are the people that you're going to employ there at that office, are there going to be new hires or some people transferring over?
Some people will transfer over. Some people that work at HQ live out in Bakersfield, about an hour and a half drive.
Okay.
They'd love to get a shorter drive and kind of live in that
Yeah.
hometown. So my idea was for those trusted team members who are already been in the system in the ecosystem for a while, if they go up there and kind of be our eyes and ears to help, with training and promulgate firm culture there.
Hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like you've got a good footprint and a good foundation going by starting that ecosystem. It only almost reminds me of like sourdough starter. It's like you have it, and then now you're gonna share it.
My wife recently started baking, and it's hard to make good bread.
It
So I
is.
hope I hope we're making good bread.
Uh,
How have you seen firms leverage artificial intelligence or programs or software or other tech to help their firms grow? And this is kind of outside the fundamental, medical summary, demand generation, artificial intelligence tools. Besides those, have there been any bigger tools that help firms really maximize and leverage the productivity of their current teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm real big in AI for leadership. So using it to strategize, using it for things like the market analysis that I was thinking about. Even with like personality, you can do personality profiles with it, and you can have people have a conversation with it
What do you mean?
to.
So
Mhm.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but what do you mean
Yes.
about have AI do personality profiles?
Well, there are some softwares. I like Crystal Knows, which does a disc analysis of a LinkedIn profile. Now, it's not 100% accurate because it's only what people put on the LinkedIn profile. So if they had someone else write it, then it's going to be askew. And also, do not use it for hiring and firing. That's a no-no. Um, but I like to know if I'm like rounding out my team. If I have a team of all like analytical C type disc profile, then I might want to have some, I's and D's, so some movers and shakers and relationship type people as I'm rounding out my team. So this would be for like people that like you're already working for you and you want to make sure that they're in their optimized role. Of course, they're going to like tell you as well, you hope, but it could also be a way to kind of use the system to give them a little bit of a nudge. Um, yeah, so that's been a lot of fun to learn more about people from the get go, from the get go. But you do get kind of intuitive about that out in the world. You'll start almost like guessing someone's zodiac sign by their personality. But DISC of course is researched and studied. So yeah, but you can use that as a good conversation. I guess a good conversation starter mainly. Also seeing where there's gaps in your system, so you could put in the roles of the people you have and like have everybody write their job description, and you could load that in to a program and see if there's any gaps and have it help you make suggestions. Now, what some firms are doing for their documents in house, like they want to have a style, like they want to, say you have some legacy partners that are going to retire soon or spending less time out of the office. They can actually, in a closed system inside the firm, upload all of their pleadings and briefs and summaries that they wrote. Back in the day when everybody wrote everything, and then the system could mimic it throughout
I
the
see.
people. So it'd be like a standardized language.
Oh, that's cool. So you'd upload a general volume of your pleadings or whatever you have. The system will learn, your style and then
Mhm.
help promulgate that forward.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep. Now I
interesting.
know we all have form banks and stuff that we got from the courthouse back in the day when we were learning and made that into forms. Um, and so it's similar to that, but more of a style, more of a personality to it.
Have you found any tools that allow support staff to help leverage their time better? Kind of have like an assistant for the assistant?
Yeah, definitely like a basic chat GPT. Like you can actually create a custom GPT to be a clerk or a paralegal, and it would go alongside your clerk or your paralegal and have that sort of conversational element if you get stumped. So if you were looking at, you can put in where your practice is, your type of practice, and then it can have a kind of a question and answer format, and it would actually like make suggestions.
For which fork in the road to take or um, what the
Yes.
forks are. Yeah, interesting.
Yes, yeah. I like to give it like complicated, nuanced things, like custody issues and that kind of stuff, the really unusual reproductive rights kind of cases and play with it and see what it says. And it's pretty good. It always has to be fact checked, but it's pretty good. It generally knows, hey, you know what, this isn't really recognized in the state. However, if you did want to make an argument, this could be an idea.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good perspective. Law firms that do have or that struggle with branding, what's your recommendation for them to begin to build their brand?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it does go back to vision and who you want to serve. Like, what's your audience looking for um, in their looking for their advisor for the type of work that they're doing. Like back in the day, like banks and technology were always dark blue. Certain flashier brands like fast foods were red. So it's like what is going to resound with the type of clientele that you're looking for.
And is a law firm brand more than just its name?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the,
Can you
the
expand on that?
culture, the clientele, the relationships with its experts and vendors, like all that is goodwill and it can all be quantifiable. So if you were to say you want to sell the firm, all that would have to be quantifiable and part of what was going to transition out over time if you're as you were valuing, like if you were valuing a firm. Of course, we want to value our firms even if we don't want to sell them or exit them at any point. We just want to know what we're working toward. So all of those things can be adjusted. It's not one for one, dollar for dollar, or something like that. It does have some gray ambiguity to it, but sort of on a scale of 1 to 10. Like this is a strong brand, or this amount of value should be attributed to the brand. This amount to the book of clients. This amount to repeat revenue. This amount to the talent that's going to stay with the firm. All of those things.
Have you helped in situations where there's been a merger of two firms?
Yes, that has to be done very delicately.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, I don't want to go too in depth with it. Some people get excited and think it's all going to be great, but it's sort of like going on a first date, and then your next thing you know, you're planning where your grandkids are going to go to school. It's like, okay, we got to slow down. We have to really really know, really outline expectations, roles, and responsibilities, and it's a lot of paperwork. So we're talking about lawyers here, and we're all going in with the best of intentions and looking at things from the very rosy side, which you want a good dose of optimism, and you also do need to spell everything out on the expectations, the roles, the staffing, the technology. There's a lot that goes into it, and just say don't take it lightly.
When there is a merger, is it easier for one of the firms just to merge into the ecosystem of the other so that there isn't two different ecosystems?
Yes, you'll want to deal with that. You'll want to, and then having people. There's even consultants that come in and do like communication between the two staffs. It makes everybody kind of nervous. And so finding out what the new culture is going to be versus the two separate cultures is going to be critical for success. Last thing you want is to go and like you're doing fine, but your entire team is grumpy or worried or felt like they were left in the dark. So it's better to really to have a long as possible runway with this type of project and make sure everybody's clear on what's going to happen.
And have you done or worked on or consulted on any multiple state type of arrangements, partnerships, acquisitions, anything like that?
No, not yet. I have worked with some firms who had some very diverse locations, like East Coast and a West Coast office. It's like, whew, night and day on culture. Um, so that
Also
was
on
always
time zone.
fun. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so that was fun because both offices were growing, expanding, and hiring, and it was very interesting to have partner meetings that were very different mindset, although both really were strongly supportive of growing the firm.
And for firms that are looking to expand into new markets, new market areas, what are the first steps that you'd recommend for firms like that?
Yeah, I'd say do a lot of research. Not too much. You do want to make a decision and pull the trigger. If it's something small that you could prototype, then try it, try it and fail fast. If you're going to fail, and say, "Oh, wait, that's probably not going to be for us. We're definitely not enjoying that, and we don't want to bench up to cover it if we do get the work." Having a lot of strategic partners with other firms, I found is very helpful for small firms. Having something that's like, okay, we may attract this type of work, but we don't want to handle it in house. So that could be a useful arrangement.
What are some common mistakes that you see law firms make when it comes to either operations management or financial management?
Oh gosh, both. Yes.
Yeah.
Not having operations is very common. People kind of making all their own decisions, or vice versa. There's someone who's running the firm, but nobody's allowed to make any decisions without them. So that can be really stymied and stuck. Financial, you need to be very lockstep in like your hiring and growth. And I see a lot of overspending in marketing, and then also expanding footprint too fast. Sounds like you have done a lot of research on yours, so no issue there. But people do want to have better office space, nicer office space, and sometimes they get a little bit overextended there.
Yeah, I hear that. You got to plan for the worst, right?
I got to cover the bases.
You mentioned something that, and it's just going too far too fast. Have you seen firms that have wanted to expand and have actually executed on it and then just couldn't handle the volume or couldn't generate enough to justify those locations?
Yes, I mean been some strategic decisions that may have gotten a little bit out of hand. Like there's a New York firm, I won't mention any names, but they had several locations. And one was a Manhattan location. They got most of their work from the Long Island location, but they insisted on having a Manhattan office. And so we really talked about that. And it's like, is this something we really need? And they're like, maybe we do, maybe we don't. And then it's like, we'll have to break a lease. And I'm like, well, sometimes you have to do that. You need to make the decision that you need to make. And yes, there may be financial consequences to that decision, but there's still, it's like you're not breaking the law if you're breaking a lease. There is an out clause. It's
Might
in
be in
there.
the cheaper in the long run, right?
It might be cheaper in the long run. You might go and say, "Hey, let's work something out. Let me find you a new tenant." I mean, there's always ways around that that are not you going down with the ship.
I mean, recently over the last year, so we have three different departments: personal injury, workers' compensation, and employment. All departments have a managing partner for those departments, and recently over the last year, we've implemented key performance indicators, dashboards, and accountability for those items across the board for all the departments, and we found that it's made a big difference in terms of how the team approaches problems and how it's given alignment to everybody for where the ship is going. I found that very helpful. Do you find that law firms who use this kind of system to be beneficial for them?
Yeah, I do like a dashboard system. I do. There's several name brand ones out there, but it's good to visualize where you're going. I mean, literally like a scoreboard at the ball game. Especially baseball. It's got all the different little things, and so you know where everybody is, and you know what you have to do to make up the gap. And keeping that front of mind can be very helpful. So if you're living in vagueness and you think you're working really hard, but you don't have anything tracked, you can't go back. I don't like going to. It's kind of like going to the gym or working out. It's like, okay, if you didn't weigh or take your measurements when you started, then 2 to 3 months in, when you don't feel like you've made any progress, you're right. You're right. So even if you didn't track it or chart it, and so your inspiration dwindles. So you don't want inspiration to dwindle in your law firm.
Yeah. And I mean, law firms are so much more, especially on the consumer side,
Mhm.
are so much more than just legal service providers in the classic sense of here's a lawyer, here's a paralegal, this is your team. It seems like the operational component of a consumer-based law firm can be or maybe bigger than the actual legal services providing part of it. Have you found that to be a common theme?
I think, yeah. I mean, I think that. I mean, it's not a commoditized business. There are some commodities. There are some products that we do create as lawyers, but it's more of a relationship. There's much more of an emotional component to it. Like you mentioned, employment and workers' comp. It's like those are very, these are people's livelihoods that you're talking about. So you can't just come in and say, okay, we're going to sell you this box of widgets and out the door you go. Here's your receipt. There's a lot more to it. And the more involved you get in it, the better you are serving your client in the long run. And there's some of that's just not quantifiable.
Which one or which operational arms or areas have you found to be the greatest driver of change or evolution in law firms going from small to medium or medium to big or anywhere in between?
So the operational, like, I'm going to say challenges or operational opportunities, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I think running a small firm, you can kind of run by the seat of your pants. But as you grow, then you've got to put in some standard operations. And usually that's done by like an office manager or one of the paralegal staff that just thinks like that. They think in systems and flow charts and spreadsheets, and um, they can go around and document it. Now, using technology to write like playbooks, you can use software like Loom, where you can record and screenshot at the same time, and then boil that down to an operational manual, so that if someone goes on paternity leave, or someone sprains, whatever, breaks their ankle on a overnight camping trip or something over the weekend, and they're just not coming back for a while, you have a playbook that someone can come in, a temp or someone else in the office. They can know 90% of their role and responsibility so that you don't miss a step. And so as the organization continues to grow, there are going to be more of those. And you want to be as duplicable as possible.
Lawyers being notoriously bad at math, are there any specific financial reports or financial statements or routine financial meetings that you think should be happening within the law firm space that you see that doesn't happen?
Yeah, I always laugh. I was like, if I could have done math, I would have gone to medical school. But no. I think some metrics should be tracked even weekly. Some things you can get away with monthly or quarterly, but knowing your AR, knowing what's outstanding, billing should be bi-monthly. Every 2 weeks should be billing, not once a month.
So I just want to clarify,
Yes.
because we just do consumer work, we don't actually bill clients for work. Do you mean that kind of accounts receivable billing or billing like from the water department?
Got it. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So that would be a different type of thing. So I was thinking, yeah, people who do hourly work definitely
Accounts
to get,
receivable billing.
yeah,
Yeah.
to definitely keep ahead of that. Because if people owe you money, that's your fault.
Yeah. And the longer you don't ask them for the money that they owe you, the
It's
harder it's going to
over.
be to get, right?
Yeah, game over. I actually learned a little. Yeah, I learned a little trick from someone who did collections for a big medical outfit, and what they told me, this is brilliant. Send a courtesy before the bill is due, a courtesy call. Because if they pay you when you have a courtesy call, they're the hero. If it goes past the due, then they're going to dodge the call. It's no longer a courtesy call because they are
And then
now,
you're a pest.
yes. And then you're a pest and a collector and all that kind of stuff. And we just don't want that relationship dynamic. So
That's a good
that's just
strategy.
it. Yeah, I was like, that's brilliant.
So there has been some talk of non-lawyer ownership in law firms and how
Yes.
that may or may not reshape the industry. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I've got a lot of thoughts of that, but I don't know how much time we have.
Give me the highlights.
Just the highlights. So it's been going on in Arizona for a little while. The ABS, alternative business structure. Um, Also in other countries, like consulting firms have been doing law practice for a while. We've also seen different softwares and tech companies inch into law practice over the last few years.
KPMG wants to start,
Yeah,
the consulting or the accounting firm also wants to start being a law firm, right?
practicing law. Yes. Yeah, in Europe, they're the big four that are in Europe. Can't remember right off the top of my head which ones are operating there. They've been doing it, so that's kind of where they got their idea. If we can do it here, we can do it anywhere. And a lot of consulting companies, they're advising, so they're advising, so they're maybe not practicing, but they're advising. So there's that.
It's a gray line, fine line.
Yeah,
I get it.
it's a gray area. And then you have those big claims technology, those big claims automation houses, and then you have things like LegalZoom and Rocket Law and those other ones too as well. Which we know we get to just clean up that mess later. They did some DIY law, and a couple years later they're going to have to pay for litigation. That's going to be similar to ChatGPT lawyers. So there's already an uptick in
Good
pro
point.
se litigants, and just have to clean all that up
Using
later.
ChatGPT for themselves, and then we got to clean up the mess.
We got to clean up the mess. We have to clean up the mess. But back to your question on private equity and non attorney ownership in law firms. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like well, number one, it violates the rules of ethics right out of the gate. The ABA, thou shalt not have non-attorneys ownership of law firms. You have to worry about like your loyalty. So like already as a practicing attorney, you have a loyalty to your law firm, you have a loyalty to your own practice, and you have a loyalty to your client. Well, client loyalty is supposed to be number one. Like,
Right. That is the number. Yes.
yes, well, it's supposed to be number one. So if you all of a sudden have shareholders telling you what you
I
need to
mean,
do with these cases, like, oh, you need to settle that, that's going to cost too much to try.
now whose interest is being
Now,
protected?
whose interest are we
That's
really
the big one.
representing? But I don't know. There's going to have to be safeguards put into place, and hopefully it will work out.
That's an interesting structure. It hasn't come to California yet. There was legislation to bring it up
Hmm.
recently it didn't pass. Um, but they're certainly talking about it, making
They're certainly
efforts
talking about it.
towards
Yeah,
it
I think 21 states have it in play, litigation. Legislation in play of some sort.
to get that going. Interesting.
Hmm.
Do you think that's going to be the future, or it may take a complete reversal?
No, I think it's probably going to be the future.
Yeah. Big business is almost in every part and fabric or service or manufacturing industry there is.
Hmm.
Well, Daya, thank you so much for your time. Tell our listeners where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you if they need some consulting services, uh, and give yourself a
Yeah,
shout out.
Absolutely. LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I post every day. So I'm at the Success Partner, thesuccesspartner.com, Daya Naef on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter I'm on Twitter / X, TikTok for as long as we have it, Blue Sky, the newest one. I don't know, not much going on Blue Sky, but it is supposed to be the newest thing. So there we are. And, yeah. And you can reach me by email at Daya, Daya, at thesuccesspartner.com.
Thank you, Daya. Thank you again for joining, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today on Harry Handles It. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and found some valuable takeaways. If you're facing challenges in your own life or business, remember that you're not alone. Together, we can handle anything that comes our way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you liked what you heard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and handling life with confidence.